Well, joining us now is Rob Oliphant. He served as parliamentary secretary to Marc Garneau throughout his term at Foreign Affairs. Rob, thank you for joining us.
Good to be here.
So, first and foremost, condolences at your loss of a friend here.
He was a good friend. He was a mentor. He was a co-conspirator at times and a thoughtful, good person. We were elected together in 2008. We had by-elections together and had a very good friendship as well as work colleagues.
Yeah, friendship, work colleagues. I got to say, I got to spend some time with Marc Garneau back in October. His memoir had just come out. It was the 40th anniversary of his flight in space. And at the time, here was this man I saw going to space as a child, and I was struck by how kind he was, how patient he was, the amount of time he had for people. And in all that time that I spent with him, no indication that he was sick at all. So I was shocked to hear the news yesterday. Were you surprised?
I was surprised as well. And I talked to him 6 weeks ago. We had a conversation. We had a conversation about the book as well, which is telling now because he told me he wrote it for his kids. He wanted his 4 children to have a sense of who their father was from kind of a biographical statement. And I think now, in hindsight, as I'm reading some of the thoughts that he was leading me into, was that maybe he was telling me some things that I wasn't picking up. Even as recently as 6 weeks ago, I invited him to come and visit my campaign. And when I surveyed the people on my team who would be the most popular cabinet minister or political leader to come to the riding during the campaign, unanimously it was Marc Garneau.
Yeah.
That was the person because of his thoughtfulness. He's a Canadian hero and a good politician and a friend of our riding. So there's a school named after him in my riding as well, and I like to tease him about that.
Yeah, I know that school well because I grew up in Toronto. But you say you were speaking to him six weeks ago. Surprised? Did you have any indication that he was ill? Because we still don't really know what claimed his life.
No, I've heard a number of stories. I've sort of put together in my own mind a kind of a history, and now I am seeing things clearly. But I think I'll let Pam and the family talk about that at the right time. Mm-hmm. I think Marc was a very private person. He was a serious person. I think he decided that he would keep this to himself, and so I will respect that. And I'll cherish the memories. We traveled together, Israel together, we sat in the House of Commons together. I was his parliamentary secretary. He carved out time for me in an incredible way. And what I liked about Marc is that we had a weekly meeting. And he loved to get the news and the gossip that I would hear on the Hill because he never got it. I never got a word of gossip from him. Yeah. Not a word. So it was kind of interesting. He was like a steel trap, an engineer. He was thoughtful. I've often said if I were on a desert island, he's the guy that I would want with me because he'd get us off. Yeah. He really would. And he was a captain and a true captain.
Yeah, and you were talking about how when you survey people in your staff, he was the name that comes forward. And without a doubt, people know Marc Garneau, Canada's first astronaut in space. He looked the part. He was described as a rock star by Brian Gallant of Space Canada, who had organized this event. But he was really uncomfortable with that kind of description. He was really uncomfortable with that kind of attention. He wanted to talk about space, but he never wanted to be the celebrity. Why was that?
He was modest, thoughtful, came from humble beginnings. When he moved to Ottawa and we were elected in 2008, he lived with his mother here in Ottawa. And that was sort of a bit of a joke at times about Marc living with his mother. And that was who he was. Walked to work. Took an hour to walk to. That was his exercise. But when I went around the world and I told the people that Marc Garneau was my minister and that Minister of Foreign Affairs, he was known. Doors opened because you're Marc Garneau, and I think Canada benefited from that. Canada in the world, and he wasn't minister for long. We had a year, and a lot of it was COVID time. But he left a mark. He opened up Canada's thinking on Palestinian people and making sure that we were continually readjusting our program towards a two-state solution. That was Marc taking those early steps. And I think he'll be remembered not only for being an astronaut, but being a very good parliamentarian, a very good legislator, and thoughtful.
So that is the legacy he leaves behind. You, his friend, how will you always remember him?
I will remember his giggle. He didn't have a big belly laugh, and he wasn't a joke teller, but when he laughed, his eyes lit up and little wrinkles in his eyes, and he loved humor. And he knew how the way to my heart was to laugh at my jokes, and he laughed at my jokes, and I will remember that. And I think he's got kids who are going to be proud of him for the rest of their lives. And we as parliamentarians should live up to his model of being a parliamentarian, being a gentleman at all times. Over the years, he became more partisan because he didn't have a lot of patience in people not getting the point. He was kind of a black and white thinker at times, but always waited till you got there and was gracious as you realized that he was right.
Well, thank you for being gracious and spending your time with us. Rob, thank you for the time.
Thank you for the memories.